to speak about the young. First of all, let's begin by imagining this young girl who just reached puberty. She's in a remote area, per se, and COVID-19 just hit. So we are looking at the economic situation, or the economic situation of COVID hitting. You find that sanitary napkins now expensive because countries are closing their borders for us to receive all the necessary products. So she's reached puberty and she's out of school. Schools have closed because governments are trying to make sure that the spread of COVID-19 is handled. So this young girl finally realized that she has sexual feelings. She now likes boys, and so she meets young man somewhere, and this man tells her, "No, I like you." At that particular age, she's naive. She sleeps with him to know that actually she's on a menstrual cycle, and at this particular time, she gets pregnant unknowingly. You find that SRH information to young girls and young women is on standby because of COVID-19. Most stakeholders, organizations, initiatives that have that have gone into SR rights and information as well as services are on hold because actually they prepared for the face-to-face interaction, meeting young girls and women and talking to them, but they can't do that because apparently there's quarantine in different countries in Africa, and they can't do that. And let's also look at it in this perspective. This young girl does not have a gadget. She has no phone. Let's look at accessing internet facility in Africa. It's so poor. It's not as high quality like other places. There's no network in an area where she is, and the necessary information she needs about SRH, how to prevent pregnancies, menstrual health information, how she can take care of herself, sanitary pads and napkins, how she can make her own because she doesn't have the money to buy. She can't access all those things. So COVID-19 has really affected me as a young girl, as a young woman, I mean, and other young girls who are in the remote areas, as well as the people and the various stakeholders who are into sexual reproductive health, because at this particular time, they can only speak to a few girls, not really the target audience that they have to reach, but just a few that can get access to this information as well as the services they provide. At this particular time, I must say it is hard, but the young girl has to be strong, you know. It's high time that our families, our mothers, grandmothers, aunties and aunties, as well as, you know, fathers, uncles started speaking to the young girls. It's not about the various stakeholders or the initiatives who have focused on SRH. It's about everybody. It's a call for everybody to speak to that young girl, to talk to them about SRH, the importance of SRH, how you prevent pregnancies, contraceptives, all those things. We need to talk to our young girls because this is the time that they're vulnerable. Pregnancies have been recorded in various places because of not being in school because of COVID-19. At this particular time, everybody must join the fight. Everybody must support that young girl and young woman to realizing her dream because she's also equal. She has various she can have various skills and she's more capable of achieving her goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther. One thing that resonated is the fact that we have to talk to our young girls about sexual and reproductive health and rights, as it is very, very necessary. Thank you so much, Esther. To conclude this session, is Bindu here from DRC? Bindu, est-ce que tu es là?
Oui, je suis là, madame.
Ok, vas-y.
Ok, moi, je vais commencer par le sujet que je vais introduire.
I'm going to begin with the subject that I'm going to introduce.
Les grossesses non désirables pendant la
Is undesired pregnancy during the COVID-19 phase.
On commence avec les situations ou les problématiques.
We are now going to begin with the situation at hand, or the problem at hand, rather. Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Bindu?
Yes. Yes, madame, je suis là.
Ok. Vas-y, continue à parler, s'il te plaît.
Ok, on nous a dit que le premier cas du COVID-19 s'est présenté en Afrique. Se présentait en Afrique parmi
identified in Africa, was registered in Africa.
Le coronavirus a beaucoup fait du mal en Afrique. Le président,
this pandemic has
a détaillé avec l'urgence et l'urgence sanitaire.
The government dealt swiftly,
accompagné par les mesures barrières de confinement.
Ensuring all the necessary measures are put in place in order to
nous a montré qu'il y a, là
and
on va parler, première cause qui, la première cause qui peut causer à ce que a fait que les grossesses non désirables arrivent. Les vagabondages causés par les manque d'occupation. Les cas où l'école a été fermée, même les églises, même beaucoup des occupations. Deuxièmement, on a fait une capacité on trouve une incapacité financière du parent. Donc, chez les parents, ici en Afrique, il y a des parents qui n'ont pas d'occupation, qui restent chez moi à la maison. Dans ces cas-là, on a trouvé les jeunes filles qui s'étaient mises dans ici on parle de quoi? Des Nganda et d'autres filles, et des bars, et d'autres filles ont fait même, les autres filles ont fait même, ont acheté leur corps pour trouver quelques moyens pour les finances, pour on peut dire, quelques moyens qui peuvent leur aider sur leurs besoins. Troisièmement, on a essayé de parler sur les rapports sexuels, sa préservatif, et tout cela peut causer les grossesses non désirables pendant la période de COVID-19. Maintenant, on a essayé un peu de parler sur les pistes de solutions aux recommandations. J'ai un peu analysé, j'ai trouvé que on peut mener une étude sur les grossesses non désirables pendant la période de COVID-19 pour combattre la situation et obtenir les données statistiques. Deuxièmement, on a dit le plaidoyer. Le plaidoyer peut être différent par le gouvernement pour qu'il prenne les mesures. Le gouvernement prenne quelques mesures optiques pour on peut dire quoi? Mesurer les filles là qui ont fait les trucs pareils. Troisièmement, on a dit on peut sensibiliser les femmes sur le planning et aussi l'utilisation des préservatifs, c'est important. Et en fait, je vous remercie, je tiens à vous remercier pour votre attention, madame. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, Bindu. Just to reiterate what Bindu said. Bindu joined forces with Doreen, her peer from Kenya, on how teenage pregnancy can actually lead to stigma and to make a lot of girls drop out of school. And the reason why everyone has to come together and work with the government to ensure that some measures are taken to ensure that we have less teenage pregnancies. A round of applause for all of the awesome ladies, young girls that actually shared their challenges, basically letting us know about their realities and their desire for change on the continent. And that brings us to the end of the first session. And to lighten up the mood, because we've had a lot of challenges that girl child in Africa faces, that takes me to Hope Wambui. I hope that your internet connection is great now. So Hope from Kenya, who's 9 years old, would also give us a name on her dignity. So please, Hope.
Can you hear me?
Hope, I don't know why we do not seem to hear you again. If Bindu, if you can turn off your microphone. Hope, I'm not sure why we're really struggling to hear you. Hopefully we're able to catch up with you again later. Second session, which I'm also very excited about. To introduce the session, we will be talking to speaker, Maziko Matemvu, who is a gender activist, and she will be speaking on generation equality. Maziko, over to you. Bindu, est-ce que tu peux turn off your microphone? Ton micro.
Oui, madame, je suis là. Okay. Je suis là. La question?
Non, ça va, c'est juste pour que tu éteignes ton micro.
Ah, d'accord, madame.
Okay. Maziko, are you here? Okay, perfect. Yes. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I must just say it's been so exciting to hear from young women, young girls, just sharing their views and really acknowledging the gender disparity. And it's something that I honestly have not really seen in such a long time and from a generation like that. So just shout out to all the amazing speakers that spoke before and shared their experiences. It's very admirable and inspiring. So my name is Maziko Matemvu. I am a gender activist and a gender and SRHR activist, and I'm very excited to be in such a space like this, distinguished space with you amazing people. I will be talking about generation equality. So to me, generation equality is acknowledging that the gender disparity exists and it's not making excuses for it. It's also ensuring that as we address the gender disparity, we're actively addressing the systematic barriers that leave women behind, that oppress women and dismiss them as equally sharing partners in decision-making bodies. Generation equality is actively and collectively challenging the retrogressive laws and cultures which shrink and silence young women. It's recognizing women and girls, young women and girls, as human beings with dignity, not valuing girls and young women because they're a wife, not valuing young women and girls because they're a sister, not valuing young women and girls because they are somebody's aunt, but also just simply valuing young women and girls as human beings who deserve human rights, basic human rights, as human beings who should be valued because they deserve dignity. As a young woman raised in Malawi, I come from a culture which is deeply rooted in religion, and tradition. So it's not very, I think one of the speakers had shared earlier that it's not it's not something that's common to have women speak out. Women are usually raised to be silent. Women are usually raised to shrink themselves. Women are usually raised to tiptoe around men's egos. But we need to challenge these social and cultural norms that make the patriarchy thrive, that suffocate women, and that silence women. Throughout this journey of addressing the gender disparity, I've gotten into several arguments with my mom. I've gotten into several arguments with my aunt. I've gotten into several arguments with my family members, and I do deeply, really, really love them. I really do. But I had to make a decision. I had to tell myself that if I remain silent in the faces of injustice, if I remain silent in the faces of violence, then I have automatically chosen the side of the oppressor. I have automatically chosen the side of the perpetrator, which brings me to my next point, that as young people, as young women, we need to do more than just complain about things. We need to do more than just tweet about things and comment on Facebook and just share. We need to do more. We need to stop turning a blind eye when we see injustices, when we see violence, when we see the disparity, the gender disparity. Because if we do remain silent, then we must know that we have automatically chosen the side of the oppressor and automatically chosen the side of the perpetrators. So what must we do? We can do more. We can amplify the voices of people who are oppressed, the voices of people who are silenced. We can mobilize groups of young people, but most importantly, we must know our policies. Most of the countries that we are in have signed to different human rights statutories that address the gender disparity. We must know these policies because the rule of law is very important. No one is above the law, and that includes our government, and that includes our members of parliament, and we must know these duty bearers in our communities. So who are the duty bearers in your communities? How are you strategically raising your voices so that they are aware of these issues, so that they inform policies to address those issues? They're aware of those issues to inform budget allocations and financing so that funding is going to actively address the issues that they have raised. So please, know who your member of parliament is. Who is your MP in your community? What are the issues and what are the laws? And bring them to them. And it's also important for our leaders and policymakers and duty bearers to know that they were elected. Sorry, I was distracted. It's very important to know that it's very important for us to know that our members of parliament, duty bearers, and policymakers were elected to advance the welfare of the citizens in the communities, to advance the welfare of the citizens in the country. And gender disparity and women being sidelined, women being subjected to harassment, women being subjected to violence, women being sidelined in systems like the health systems, the justice systems, the economic systems, the health systems are serious issues that should not be put aside. These are issues that have to be addressed, and we cannot wait and sit on it because we are in 2020 and we cannot be doing this. We must not be demanding and begging. Actually, we must not be begging to be recognized as equally sharing partners. Women must be recognized as equally sharing partners who can contribute to decision-making bodies. Women must be recognized as people who are more than just housekeepers and child bearers. They are equally sharing partners and they must be recognized as such. So for generation equality, it's not about working in silos. We must collectively work together, but we must also realize our privilege as women and as men. as a fight for women, we must be in the forefront and we must speak out and we must remain angry. We must be resilient and we must not give up, because it is you and I who can make a change. It's conversations and dialogues like this that will push for policies, conversations and dialogues like this that will push our duty bearers and policy makers to ensure that a change is done. But the change must start from the primary level, our families. Let us stop grooming women and raise them around male validation. Let us raise young girls, let us raise young women, as human beings, not as somebody who should aspire to marriage, not as somebody who should aspire to be somebody's wife, but as somebody who can contribute to the development of our country, to the development of our nation, to the development of our continent. Because we're more than just wives, and we're more than just childbearers. We are decision makers, and we must be part of the table, of the discussion. We must be in those rooms. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Machel. Thank you. Just to reiterate quickly, what she's trying to say, or she said, is to amplify the voices, basically, of women who are oppressed. We must know our policies, and we must stand up as women for ourselves. Thank you so much once again, Maziko. I don't know if Hope is here to give her another opportunity. Okay, so it takes us to the second session. Like I initially indicated, is Nur, Lydia, Nadege, Farah, Amanda, Kate. Please get ready to share your challenges, your realities on the continent, as well as recommendations or your desire for change. That takes me to our next girl speaker, Nur from Tunisia, who will be speaking on child labor. Nur, est-ce que tu es prête? Nur, est-ce que tu es là? Okay, so while we wait for Nur, I will go to Lydia. Lydia from Uganda, who will be speaking on child labor and trafficking in the context of COVID-19. Over to you, Lydia.
Good afternoon. My name is Angela Lydia, and I come from Uganda. And I'm going to talk about child trafficking and child labor. Child trafficking is the illegal recruitment, transfer, harboring, and transportation of a child. And this includes child labor, early marriages, commercial sexual exploitation. And here in Uganda, child labor has increased due to COVID-19 since parents lost their jobs. So they send their girl children to vend tomatoes to provide for their family. And this results into defilement. And some of these girls are transported from different parts of the country and are brought to Kampala to work as housemaids, barmaids, and babysitters. And some are also practicing stone quarrying in Napak, Moroto, and Tororo, as well as gold mining. This usually exposes the girls to other risks such as early marriage and rape, and as well as dropping out of school. With a girl child being exposed to child labor, it violates the girl's rights to play and rest. And I would like to tell you some of the recommendations. Since most parents are ignorant, I request the government to do more sensitization on the dangers of child labor. On children becoming mobile markets, I request the government of Africa to enforce laws against all forms of child labor and exploitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for that succinct presentation. Just to reiterate what Lydia discussed is more of sensitization on the dangers of child labor, as well as enforcing laws against child labor and child trafficking. Thank you again, Linda from Uganda. Is Nur here? Nur? Bonjour. No, you can go ahead. So Noor is from Tunisia, and she will also be lending voices to that of Lydia to speak on child labor. So over to you, Noor.
عسلامة، أنا نور من تونس، ممثلة لجمعية أمل العائلة والطفل ولشبكة منارة للدفاع عن حقوق الطفل. اليوم باش نحكي على مشكلة تشغيل القاصرات في تونس. لقد أقر الدستور الجديد الصادر سنة 2014 حماية الطفل وضمان حقوقه، حيث ينص البند 47 من الدستور على أن للطفل حقوقا على أبويه وعلى الدولة أن تضمن كرامة وصحة الأطفال وتوفر لهم الرعاية والتربية والتعليم. كما أن الدولة ملزمة
The government should give priorities to girls.
كما أن الدولة ملزمة بتوفير جميع أنواع الحماية
The government has a role to play in protecting girls.
لكل الأطفال دون تمييز ووفق المصالح الفضلى للطفل ولملائمة القوانين. عمل على وضع الإطار القانوني لحماية الطفل العامل بشكل خاص عبر لسنة 2016، والذي أقر بمنع الاستغلال الاقتصادي أو الجنسي للأطفال عبر تشغيلهم. في 11 أول 2017، غير أن واصل، وذلك عن طريق منظومة الاستعباد، شراء القاصرات في مناطق الفقر وقيمهم في المدن في المنازل أو لتشغيلهم في مجموعات التسول والعصابات. تونس ما زالت تعاني من ظاهرة الاتجار بالبشر بأساليب مختلفة على غرار تشغيل القاصرات كمعينات منزليات، حيث بين تقرير الهيئة الوطنية لمكافحة الاتجار بالبشر الصادر سنة 2019 أن 700 مقاصر يتم استغلالهن سنويا في تونس في ظروف غير إنسانية، وتنتشر هذه ظاهرة الاتجار بالقاصرات كثيرا في المناطق الداخلية في الشمال الغربي للبلاد، حتى أنها أصبحت معروفة بتوفير فيجدوا أنفسهم وسط الاستغلال وسوء هذه المناطق يتم فيها عرض القاصرات للعمل في الأشغال المنزلية الشاقة بطريقة تحت إشراف وسطاء أو ملاعب بالأنصار لربط بين المشغلين القاصرة، حيث بلغت نسبة الاستغلال الاقتصادي للإناث 36.7%.
We have seen that there's a high percentage of violence, especially during the
يعيشن بوحدانية ولا يعرفن حقوقهن ويعانين من
most of these girls they don't know their rights.
وتنتشر هذه الظاهرة في الأوساط الريفية وتعتبر ولاية
and especially this violence actually they when girls are
وبين التقرير أيضا أن أغلب القاصرات العاملات يتعرضن للعنف والاغتصاب.
and we have seen that some girls actually also experience violence during working period.
أكد الأخصائيين النفسانيين أن الاكتئاب والخوف المفرط والقلق النفسي هي أهم الأمراض النفسية التي يمكن أن تصيب
and these things actually they affect people psychologically and they
وسط ضعف الرقابة وغيابها في أحيان عديدة.
monitoring of these issues.
لاستغلال الفتيات في عمالة المنازل، فهو يختلف من منظور القانون الأساسي عدد 61
this one is actually
إلى منظور 58 لسنة 2017 الذي جعل من هذا الاستغلال جرحا. تشرع تشغيل الأطفال في سن 13 مع التنصيص على عدم التشغيل مرهقة وشاقة وسمح لهم بالتعاون الاجتماعي، ولكن الإشكال الأكبر الذي يعترض ظهور مكافحة الظاهرة هو رفض باعتبار أنهم شركاء في الجريمة. وفي ظل هذا الواقع المصالح
and you find that these actually laws are not implemented.
جمعية الطفل والطفل، وأنا نور جوازي كممثلة للجمعية وكممثلة لشبكة منارة للدفاع عن حقوق الطفل نقترح جملة من الحلول والتوصيات.
Me as Noor, actually, I'm suggesting that there should be a coordination through different stakeholders.
تعزيز الدعم المادي واللوجستي في التعليم وخاصة في المناطق. التنسيق بين مختلف باتجاه سياسة متكاملة وفعالة لحماية الفتيات العاملات. عمل على تجنب التناقضات الحاصلة بين مختلف القوانين والتشريعات. متابعة تنفيذ برنامج إعادة التعليم التقني.
And then we should have programs, academic programs to ensure that
إشعار مندوب حماية الطفولة عن الأطفال ضحايا الاستغلال الاقتصادي. معالجة ومتابعة.
We should have like representatives to ensure that we look into
إعادة النظر في القوانين الحامية للأطفال العاملين في تونس. إعادة تأهيل وإدماج الفتيات ضحايا.
also ensure
إعادة تأهيل وإدماج الفتيات ضحايا.
qualified people working in this field to ensure that their rights of
Noor, est-ce que
مزيد رفع الوعي تجاه العائلات التي تشغل بناتها وتحسيس المجتمع بواجب الإشعار.
Also support these families to live as other human beings.
Thank you so much, Noor. Shukran Jazila Noor. Shukran. So is Nadege from Chad? Is she Nadege? Est-ce que tu es là? Okay, so while we wait for Nadege, is Farah from Egypt?
But KCCA has its law enforcement. Yes, but this one, KCCA and Uganda police is different.
Lydia, can you please turn up your microphone? What about Amanda? Can I ask for a favor from everyone? Can you please turn off your microphone? If you are not speaking, please turn off your microphone so that we can all hear one speaker at a time. Is Nadege from Chad? Is she here now? And then what about
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonjour à tout le monde. Je suis Nadège Assoué. Je suis enfant ambassadeur du réseau des associations pour la protection des enfants au Tchad.
Children protection in Chad.
Je suis au Tchad. Mon intervention cet après-midi s'inscrit dans les activités de la coalition pour les droits de l'enfant au Tchad. Mon intervention se basera plus sur les mutilations génitales féminines au Tchad. Le Tchad est un pays de l'Afrique centrale avec environ 15 millions d'habitants. La violation faite aux femmes et aux filles sont de plus en plus répandues. Sans véritables mesures de prévention, de protection et d'accompagnement des victimes.
And victim support measures in place.
35% des filles sont mariées avant l'âge de 15 ans et 44% ont reçu d'une mutilation génitale féminine.
44% have undergone
au moins 20% des filles sont excisées.
And
entre 5 et 14 ans
of women
dans les provinces du Mandoul, Moyen Chari, le Wadai et le Salamat.
Loadou and the Salamat region. Now preventions or measures of prevention.
chez les filles et les femmes de 15 à 49 ans. Les mutilations génitales féminines endommagent irrémédiablement le corps des filles et leur infligent une douleur insoutenable. Les pratiques posent un traumatisme psychologique extrême qui peut durer toute la vie, d'après les Nations Unies. Même si dans les années précédentes, le taux de mutilation génitale féminine a diminué, force est de constater entre juillet et septembre 2020, des milliers de filles et de femmes sont excisées. Certaines femmes qui portent la grossesse dans les 5 premières semaines ont perdu leur fœtus. Pour éradiquer ce phénomène, les acteurs de la société s'accordent à mettre l'accent sur la communication sociale afin d'éradiquer cette pratique qui constitue une violation grave et flagrante des droits des femmes et des filles. Certaines communautés dans les sous-régions d'Afrique centrale considèrent les mutilations génitales comme une rite de passage ou comme une cérémonie d'initiation marquant la transition ou le passage de l'enfance à l'adulte. C'est le cas du Tchad. Qu'elles sont pratiquées à la majorité des populations du sud, du centre et de l'ouest du pays. Les facteurs qui encouragent cette pratique sont ignorance, les fautes interprétations, le poids de la tradition et le statut inférieur des femmes. Je recommande au gouvernement de la sous-région d'Afrique centrale prendre des mesures législatives pour sanctionner les acteurs de mutilation génitale féminine, appliquer la politique le genre adopter le gouvernement du pays de l'Afrique centrale, accentuer les sensibilisations sur le terrain,
to increase sensitization on the ground.
Employer le plaidoyer auprès des acteurs appliqués dans la lutte contre les mutilations génitales, mener une enquête indépendante pour situer les responsables, appuyer aux partenaires, appuyer techniquement, financièrement des organisations de la société civile.
I'm so sorry I had to cut you off because we do not have enough time and we want to make sure that all girls...
vous interrompre, le temps nous fait défaut. J'aimerais que toutes les filles et les femmes puissent au moins prendre la parole pendant quelques minutes.
Is Farah here, Farah from Egypt, who will be speaking to us on child marriage? Just to quickly reiterate what Nadege said, basically is that some communities consider FGM as an initiation, marking a passage of right into womanhood, and it's mostly perpetrated because people are ignorant, and the government needs to take measures to sanction and apprehend the perpetrators of this act. Is Farah from Egypt, who will speak on child marriage? Is she here? No. Okay, so is Amanda? Amanda is a girl child. She's an African in diaspora who currently lives in Ireland, and she'll be discussing parenting and racism with us. Over to you, Amanda.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Amanda Ade. My colleague Kate and I will actually be speaking as part of the Shiro's Global Initiative on behalf of African girls in the diaspora. So when we look at the issues that actually affect African girls in diaspora collectively, we can separate this into two main categories. So that's the internal and the external struggles. Internal being those issues that actually stem from within the African community itself, whether that's at home or in the diaspora. and the external being those issues that arise as a result of being a minority in essentially what is a white man's land. For Kate and I, this happens to be the Republic of Ireland. So when I think of the internal struggles, the first two that immediately spring to mind are double standards and parenting. As a society, we teach our girls to aspire to marriage and instill in them the belief that marriage is the highest possible achievement that they can obtain, and that the success of their marriage is actually a measure of their worth as a woman, which is very, very wrong. And bringing this then into the parenting of African girls in the diaspora particularly, it's popular belief that African children raised abroad are disrespectful and we have no regard for culture. But what a lot of people fail to understand, and what the parents in particular fail to understand, is that the minute we walk out of the door, the society that we become submerged in is not reflective of these same teachings, and more particularly, the methods of parenting are not reflected. And then this causes an internal conflict of cultures almost within a lot of African children in the diaspora. So this leads me to the external struggles, the first of which being identity. There's an identity crisis that comes with the territory of being an African girl in diaspora. And from my own experience, I remember constantly feeling like I was the odd one out. To society here, I was too African to really be considered Irish. But then the same thing when I returned back home, I would be considered too Irish to be African. So that left me almost in a space of limbo, not really knowing who I am or where I'm from. And that experience is not unique to me. That is faced by a lot of children across the diaspora. And finally, racism. This is an issue that has, it's come to the forefront, particularly in the last couple of months with the Black Lives Matter movement and all of that. And this is an issue that follows us throughout our entire lives, through school. And when we are applying for jobs, we are constantly competing with our white counterparts. And we're competing at a disadvantage, perceived being Black. And then on top of that, being a Black female. And we're already starting off at a disadvantage. So as African girls in the diaspora, issues that affect us are often overlooked, as we are seen to be privileged and we should have no reason to complain or face hardship, but that's simply not the truth. So I'm going to hand over to Kate for some recommendations.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
Okay, good afternoon, morning, and evening, everyone. So I'll be continuing there for where Amanda stopped, and more offering solutions for girls or the girl child African ladies who live in the diaspora. As much as we can relate with the struggles identified earlier on by Aya and Natasha and several other speakers, the general consensus is that we have it easier because we live abroad. But in actual fact, these sort of recommendations help us to flourish in the white man land. Earlier on, Natasha spoke and she said the power lies within you. That's the first recommendation that I'll give. In order to overcome the external struggles that come with identity, you must know who you are. So who are you? And how do we know who you are? How do we know who we are? That's how we're able to live in a society where we're forced to bleach or we're forced to tame our hair in classes. And there's comments like, you're pretty for a Black girl, those kind of comments. And how do you know who you are? For me, it's in a society where they work tirelessly to quench your faith. For me personally, what has worked is discovering my faith, knowing who Christ for me has called me to be. And for us all, coming out of religious mindsets and actually coming into relationship with who created us and who we are called to be. And I agree with Natasha completely that said the power lies within you. And that's been the foundation for me as well, to be able to work in the white man's land. And we need encouragement from the African continent continuously. At times, just as Amanda's mentioned, when we are, in conversation with those who live in Africa, they have the idea that we are living in rosy land and we're good, but there needs to be a balance. We're here and we're the minority, and we're there and we're still sort of bullied or spoken negatively of. So the encouragement from the African continent that yes, when we come home, we feel yes, we are loved, we feel we are encouraged, we feel we belong here, as opposed to being treated sort of negatively. Also, for those living in diaspora, the recommendation would be that parents could help their children, their young girls, to join mentorship programs, like one of the ones I'm in, which is Shiro's Global. One of the projects we have is Shiro's Girl Club. where we have conversations, where we have mentors like Yemi Adenuga, who pushed herself to run for a political role never been done by a Black woman in this country. And, you know, thank God she eventually won. That sort of representation allows for me and other young girls to know that it's possible. It can be done. So definitely parents can connect their children to organizations like those. And we need more organizations. We need more mentorship programs like such to empower and to build the confidence of girls and allow them to be in leadership roles. So then when they step out into the Irish world or the European or American world, where they're faced with Caucasian counterparts, they don't feel lesser than. They feel well equipped and they feel that, yes, I can be who I want to be. And finally, for parents as well, we need intergenerational conversations. I think there's one where we'll have on Sunday in the evening where we hope to just raise the issues that Black girls do face. At times, like, it's a case of, in this home, I'm Nigerian. In this home, you're living in Nigeria, but as soon as you step out of your house, you're no longer in Nigeria, you're in Ireland. So it's bringing the balance of explaining to parents and having civil conversations, respectful conversations that, yes, I'm a Nigerian, yes, but I'm also Irish. But at the same time, so how do I find the balance of both? So having conversations with parents, encouraging their children to strive to be excellent while still being domesticated, of course, but excellent in their academics, excellent to political fields and several others. So those are the three key recommendations. I think it's so important for those in diaspora and also just generally all over the world. Know your faith. Find mentors, link with those that will inspire you. I've met so many people here that I'm so blessed, and I hope to keep in contact and find contact with afterwards. And also encouragement from the African continent and from parents and young girls themselves. Thank you so much. You're muted. Sorry, Mary.
Thank you so much, Amanda and Kate, for your presentation and actually representing African girls in diaspora, because we always say that there are 5 regions in Africa, and there's that extra region, which is Africans in diaspora. So thank you both for being a voice for African girls in diaspora. And one thing that resonated is the identity crisis of an African girl in diaspora. And this reminds me of Ijoma Imogbuye's poem. She is a Nigerian writer who says, so here you are, too foreign for home, too foreign for here, if I'm not mistaken, no, too foreign for home, too foreign for here, never enough for both. So again, you must know who you are, join mentorship programs and find mentors, intergenerational conversations, and as well as encourage each other that are in the diaspora. Is Farah from Egypt? Is she here to discuss on child marriage quickly?
Farah, you can unmute yourself.
Farah? Okay, so while we wait for Farah, is it possible, we would like, because we've been trying to get Hope, who's actually prepared a poem for us, and we've been struggling, but Caroline would go ahead and play the video for Hope. At least we should be able to watch her video. So Caroline, over to you. Okay, okay, Jennifer is on, okay.
My name is Hope Omboy Ochen from Kenya. I stand for the God child. Are you happy to see her losing her dignity because of shame, teasing, or being shut off from everyday activities due to period poverty? Schools have been closed. Yes, public schools, where she gets free sanitary towel. Her mom, the only source of bread, is a hustler. Torn apart to decide whether food, rent, or sanitary towel for her salary has been shaken and in a mess this pandemic season. Kindly, you, yes you, Hold her hand, let end her poverty and shame. Save her health from infections of using rags. Donate a pad. Hashtag he for she. Can't you see she's broken? Yet she's a woman. She's a wife. She's a sister. She's a mother. Yes, she is. An everlasting shoulder. Restore her dignity from all this pain, fear of leaks, infections, teen pregnancy, sexual abuse, discomfort, in the name of sanitary towel. Stand tall, stand with her, make her an eagle when she flies. Hashtag she is equal. Hashtag free to be online. Hashtag have voice, have freedom. Hashtag restore her dignity. Hashtag be the change she desires. Hashtag I Hope Homeboy Ochieng, Kenya Scout Sungura. Stand for the girl child. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing, amazing presentation by Hope. Hope against all odds. This again is a definition of a girl child rising against all odds. She's tried to come on and she couldn't, and at least we're able to hear her through the video. Hope, thank you so much for standing for the girl child. Thank you for all of the hashtags of being the change that we desire, for her voice, her freedom, and hashtag he for she. Thank you so much, Hope. Is Farah here now to discuss child marriage? Farah from Egypt, child marriage.
She is here, Mary. Farah, please unmute.
Please unmute yourself, Farah.
Victoria, please may you assist Farah to unmute. Thank you.
So while we wait for Farah, I'm excited about our next speaker. The reason why we are all here today. Our mother, a lot of us fondly call her mom, and some of us call her Mama Machel. But so after Farah speaks, I'm looking forward, and I'm sure everyone is looking forward to her speaking. So at least she can join voices with the voices of the girl child in this intergenerational dialogue. Is Farah here now? Has she been able to unmute?
I think we've actually lost her now. She's having difficulties with connecting.
I would have to go ahead without her because of time. We're really, really running out of time. So again, I was speaking of after hearing all of the girls spoke actually about 12 girls have spoken. I would like to call on Mrs. Graca Machel, who is the founder of the Graca Machel Trust, but it seems so weird I'm calling her Mrs. Graca Machel because most of us fondly call her mom. Some of us call her Mama Machel because she's a mother to so many of us. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, please, Mama Machel.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. First, to have had a chance to listen to the voices of girls themselves and the opportunity to reflect on the experiences they are going through, and more importantly than the recommendations they are making to parents, to those organizations which are working with girls, and of course to government. I do not have much time, so I'll pick up just a few things from what I have listened to. The first one being that girls many times are not given recognition of their own identity, just to be themselves. Many times we speak on behalf of girls. Other times we think we are going to provide the services for girls without taking the trouble of asking and listening to what they want. What are their aspirations? And how do we contribute? Because we have simply to contribute for their development. So the first thing I want to take from, in fact, it was from Natasha, is girls, just embrace to be a girl. Be sure that you are a human being, you are complete, you are, of course, growing, you are in development, but you are a whole. It's you and nobody else. So take the courage to accept that you have your own identity. You respect what you are given as guidance from your parents, guidance from your teachers, guidance from your religious leaders, guidance for those who are working with the girls, but you are yourself and you have rights. And your rights, no one can take them from you, and you simply have to know them, to nurture them, and to enrich and to build your own personality. So it's extremely important that girls begin to embrace just being complete human beings. That's the first point. The second one, I acknowledge that there's too many social norms which makes this difficult. So isolated as a girl, you're not going to make it. And it came from you as well. So for some of you, make sure that you belong to a network. Because when you are working in a collective, when you are in a network, then you strengthen your own beliefs, you strengthen what you aspire to, you strengthen even your right to say no. Well, if you are alone at home or alone in the community or alone at school, it's going to be very difficult for you to have the courage and the strength. So organize yourself in clubs, as there are clubs, organize yourself in networks, but make sure that you build the strength which comes with working collectively. Any one of you, I would encourage you to look back and say, do I really belong to a collective? The third thing is, and it came from Natasha again, she said, we need to set the threshold, what it means to be equal. So you need to have clarity on what you do not want, but at the same time, where do you want to go? What are your aspirations? What are your targets? What are your goals? What do you want to become? So in a collective, you work together to achieve a certain goal, and a goal which is very clear to all of you. And this will give you then the solid foundations from where you continue then to build what is your threshold of what it means to be equal. I think also I wanted to jump to speak to the girls in the diaspora, and I have to welcome really that today's conversation is bringing these girls. Many times we just, as they quite rightly they said, we believe that because they are in the other world, they only have privileges, so they don't face so much challenges. It was heartening to listen to them and really to see how challenging this identity crisis. If girls on the continent, they are struggling with other issues, at least they do not face identity crisis. While these girls, they are in a world which at every moment, as one of them said, they are too Irish to be black. They are too, when they are at home, they are too black to be Irish. And this is a big issue. So I think in building this identity we are talking about, we have to take into account what kind of support we have to provide to girls who are living in the diaspora. And to them, I will say, make sure that you connect with the networks on the continent. Because yes, you can be connected to global, but you need to be connected with your roots. You need to be connected with your heritage. So you need to be connected with networks which are operating from the continent side, and you strengthen one another. And about this, I will tell to my GMT team that we still have to work on this issue of how do we support girls to be themselves, fully citizens, fully human beings, and girls simply, they have to build the courage and the strength to put their foot down. But the other thing which I want to say to girls before I move to others is that you must know that as you affirm and assert yourself in what you want, you have to know that you have the right to say no. And this has to be strength. You know, we listen to girls about early pregnancy and child marriage and all those things as if, I know they are imposed on them, but we don't hear much of what it means just for you to know it's your right to say no. They can try to impose on you, but it is your right to say, I don't want to be a mother while I'm still a child as well. I don't want to be married at the age I am. I don't want, that idea of, yes, we have to support girls to know, yes, what they want, but they have to know what they do not want and how to say no. More importantly, how to say no. And I want to move quickly to us as those who are working with girls. I want to insist that we need to open much more space for them to be the one who design the agenda. So that it's not what we think the girls should say, it is what the girls themselves are saying and what they would like to see happening. So the space for girls to express themselves in their own perspective, in their own feelings, it's important that it's opened up more and more. It is not about being correct in the way you say. They have to be saying things correctly. No. It is about to know exactly their deep feelings, their deep frustrations, and their fears as well, because they have lots of fears. So the space for girls to speak freely and to say what exactly they're experiencing has to open up, so that organizations are not trying to buckle in girls to say what is expected to be said, but they say exactly how they feel and how it is. That's the second point. The second or third point now, I do not know. But now, what has to be done? It's a long list which we cannot debate here. What I will say is we have to decide what are the immediate things to be done and what are those things which have to be done, as short term and medium term. And to all of us, I think today, what we have to be claiming and asking to be done is to get girls back to school. 2020 has kept millions, and in fact, it's estimated that 250 million girls in primary and secondary schools are out of school today. The foundation which cannot be replaced in life is education. So we have to tell everyone in power, please do everything at your hand to bring back girls to school. all of them, because there is a risk of some of them will not be able to come in. And we should be, we girls, we organizations, really to work hard at different levels to say, girls, back to school. Girls, back to school, all of them. And of course, we knew already that even before COVID, there were girls who were outside school. So we needed to bring those who were in school, but also to make sure that those who have not been, they're also brought in. This is immediate. And I think as from 2021, we have to work hard and to see who really managed to come back and who is being left behind. We need to continue to bring them in. It's number one task to those who are working with children, to government, all of us in our advocacy. This has to be in a very, very strict kind of agenda, has to be our priority number one. The second one is this question of access to sexual reproductive health services. You know, it's like we know that, girls unwillingly, they get pregnant. But we are very shy. The services, reproductive health services for girls are still very, too small to what is needed. We need to make really a decision to say, this is fundamental for them to grow and for them to remain in school, for them to be able to reach the age they can make decisions about their own lives. And it's not one about whether parents like it or not. We need to work with parents. We need to help them to change their mindset, to know that there's no way girls will reach equality if they are not supported to have sexual health reproductive services. Why am I saying this? Whether we like it or not, they will be engaged in sex. Whether it's willingly, whether they are forced, then they should be able to protect themselves. And this, I think it's the second thing which is not negotiable in the way we should do. The third one, it is another kind of a taboo, menstrual management. And there are societies which this is a taboo, you can't talk about it openly, etc. And the services to provide girls with the way they can manage this and confidently, it is something which we cannot continue to ignore, or at least not to put it as a priority. So I'm talking of very practical things which are urgent to be addressed forcefully if we are to serve girls. And we give them the platform for them to speak on their own behalf. I want to end saying, look, this thing which is called the digital divide, it is part of our life. It's easy to say girls are equal, but really girls have become much unequal with COVID. So the idea of how do we bring them to be equal, it means to understand how many steps back we're forced to take because of COVID, and what is the fundamental and huge task of recovery to where we were in December 2019, and for us now to move for the next 10 years. So it's not a question of saying it. I think it's a question of being really very strategic in identifying in different areas what are the setbacks we have suffered, how do we recover, and how do we plan for a better future working with girls. And finally, I just want to say thank you very much for this webinar. I think it has given us very important insights which we need to work on. But finally, I just want to say, girls, take up your own identity, take up your destiny. Ask for the kind of support you need, but to be yourself. Build your movements. Tell loud and clear, whether it's parents, whether it's teachers, whether it's civil society organizations, tell loud and clear, how do you want to become a very self-confident, citizen of this continent of ours, and a self-confident citizen of the world. And for that, it is your right. It is a right you have to demand. It is a right you have to assert yourself. and don't be shy. And with this, I want to finish here and say, you gave us a lot of thoughts and ideas of what we should be doing. And thank you very much for this opportunity. Sorry. And I want to mention the intergenerational mentorship. I think it's important, yes. We don't have lots of dialogues, yes. I think it's Natasha said. Now we have to move to intergenerational mentorship. I take notes, and I take it back then to Natasha and to Maziko. It's Maziko, right? Yeah. You started because yesterday you were also a girl, and today perhaps you are 18. Take up the responsibility of mentoring your younger sisters, and we, the ones who are much older, we will take responsibility as well. But you will be in a better position than ourselves because you are too close to that situation. And the language you use with your younger sister, it will be much better than when it's an old lady of my age to speak to a girl who is 15. So perhaps we need really this age which is between adolescent and young ladies to be the layer which connects the older generations to those who are much younger. So it's not about having Mama Machel to mentor them alone. It's really to identify this age which is in the middle. And I think it's one of the ideas I'm taking from this conversation today. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you so much, Mama Machel, for those words of wisdom and for that powerful, amazing call for action. Just to reiterate, she said so many amazing things that if I was to say it, it's going to take me even longer time because even I had to learn myself. But I'll just quickly reiterate some of the highlights and then point to note to everyone. Please note that the outcome documents, which would include everything Mama Machel has said, would be included in the outcome document that will be shared to everyone next week. It just gives us time to collect a comprehensive document that will be shared to everyone. So Mama Machel says to us that we need to own our identity. We need to know who we are as Africans and as girls. We also need to begin to embrace ourselves as complete human beings. We need to belong to a network. We need to strengthen our beliefs. And also, we need to be clear on what we want and what we do not want. So it means that we have to work together to achieve a certain goal. And then as girls, they need to be supported. And it's not just the role of one person. It's a collective responsibility to give girls the space to speak freely. And then we also need to know the differences from the low-hanging fruits, more about the immediate things that needs to be done now and the things that need to be done on a short term or on a medium term or on a long term basis. It is also important to get our girls back to school because it is a foundation. Education is a foundation that cannot be replaced in life, which means basically education is key and very paramount. So girls need to be educated. We should never or we should not leave any girl child behind. And in her words, she also talks about take up your identity, Black girl child, take up your destiny, speak up, and we need to know we need to know what you as a girl child want. And you need to be confident, not just confident, but be a very proud, confident citizen of Africa, and do not be shy. I actually wrote that specifically. And then she also talks about intergenerational mentorship, where we have a role to play. We cannot just leave the burden on Mama Machel to say, oh, because she is an advocate for girls and women and children's rights, and so we leave the burden upon her alone. No, we all have a role to play to make sure that we mentor whether our sisters, young women, young girls, because only collectively can that girl child be equal to her male counterparts. I know I haven't summarized as much as, but again, like I said, there will be an outcome document that will be circulated to everyone on Monday, which will cover comprehensively everything that has been discussed. That takes me to questions. The good thing was when Mama Machel was speaking, she was able to answer some of the questions that some of you had asked. So I would, and again, also because of time, I would only be able to give room for just 2 questions, or probably 3. Let's see how time allows us. One question will be for Mama Machel, one question will be for Maziko, and then another question will be for Ayat. So the first question we'll go to Maziko. I don't know, hopefully Maziko is still with us. And the questions that a lot of people were asking is that, especially the fact that you spoke on sexual and health, reproductive rights, is that, do you think Africa is delivering adequate information on comprehensive sexuality education? And then someone also added that generation equality sounds good, but then how are we going to involve boys too? I mean, aren't they also affected? And then why should we paint? Is Maziko here?
I think we've lost Maziko.
Okay, so I'm glad I asked. So let me just quickly go to Aya Chebi. Is she here? Aya?
No, I think we've also lost Aya.
Okay, so that would lead me to, I hope Mama Machel, okay, I see Mama Machel is here.
So I think because of time, let's just give one question to...
Yes. So Mama Machel, one question, I see that you answered it, but maybe answering it in a more comprehensive manner is that one question a lot of people kept on asking was, is it true that GBV is grounded by tradition and culture? So what do we do with regards to changing these societal norms? Are they changeable? And how can we influence this change?
You know, social norms are made by men in the sense by human beings. It is our construct. It is not like a God-given. So whether they are very much deeply entrenched or not, the answer is they are changeable. And they have. In fact, they must be changed. The process will not be short-term achievable, and it's not going to be easy. But we have already in certain communities on this continent examples which can show that, yes, it is changing slowly, but it is changing. So because we do not have time, perhaps I'll ask Caroline and the team, the child rights team, to circulate some of the examples I know of, which has shown whether it's genital mutilation, but you could see communities accepting to change. Whether it is child marriage, you could get some communities in which they came together. I mean, parents, religious leaders, schools, etc., to say, in this community, including traditional leaders, in fact. I know of 2 examples in Malawi where traditional leader, who is a female, both of them, they are female actually, they simply made a decree that in my area, no one is allowed here, to give a child to be married before she achieves 13, and it can be done. To the extent they even went to bring children who were already in marriage to bring them to school. So because we do not have time, we will put together some examples, we'll circulate so that people know that it's a long-term process, but it is happening, it has to happen, and because it's a social construct, it's a society which have to deconstruct. To be short, that's the answer I could give.
Thank you so much, Mama Machel, for that answer. Basically, a lot of questions, I think about 10 questions, had said the same thing about social norms, if it's changeable. And Mama Machel has said, yes, indeed, it is changeable. Yes, it might take time, but it is changeable because it is a social construct. It is made by society. Society itself can actually change this. And so again, alongside with the outcome document, we will also be sharing examples with all of the participants on how these have actually changed and how things have evolved with time. And on that note, it will be the closing remarks. I do not know if Tato Mutlungu, hopefully I'm not pronouncing your surname wrong. She's a speaker from the Nelson Mandela Children Parliament. Tato, are you here? So you can give us you can give the closing remarks. Tato?
Hi.
Hi, Tato. Please,
hi, how are you?
Your closing remarks. I'm well, thank you.
Okay.
Please, may you have your video on? Thank you.
As the speaker of Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament of South Africa, my role is to be the voice and actually work with voices out there, and the struggle becomes across spaces of children to participate. Children's issues need proper coordination in the continent and accountability mechanism in order to be in place for the child to enjoy their rights. My role is to thank everyone in here, Ms. Graca, Machel, Ms. Mary Izobo, Ms. Maziko Matemu, Ms. Ayachebi, and Ms. Natasha Mwanza. We would like to thank Graca Machel Foundation and partners for availing this space. Children are never given platforms to discuss issues affecting them. Instead, people continue taking decisions about children without children. I would like to acknowledge everyone who attended the seminar. We should have more of seminars to address both girls and boys issues. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you all. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Tato, for the closing remark. But I would like to leave you with some words. And those words are the words of Mama Machel. And it says, open quotes, "Let us give a face and voice to that girl child who has been ignored,